why do we struggle so much with change? And tell us a little bit about that, because I'm sure a lot of people listening are like, yeah, change is one of the most, I mean, everything can be easily set out, but the fact that you're changing, no matter how well it is and, well laid out, it's a struggle. So why is that?
The reason why we're stuck, as far as I see it, is actually imprinted, if you will, on us evolutionarily, and it lives in our subconscious mind. So, unbeknownst to the large majority of us, many of us are living from probably terms that might listeners might be familiar with from our autopilot, from those kind of memorized habits and patterns that are typically the first thing we do when we wake up, the thoughts we think throughout our day. We're very habitual. And so our subconscious is actually governed by what we could call the familiarity principle, which really just means that which is familiar, the path I've traveled before, is
Right.
known enough to me that it's safer than the unknown, than the path into an uncertainty, where I don't have the gift of knowing what could happen next with high likelihood. Now, this is where we are very counterintuitive, because I'm sure so many of us have all of the litany of negative, after effects of our choices that aren't so favorable. However, again, familiar just means I've been here before. And our subconscious really doesn't like the uncertainty. So, as humans, we're not actually created. We don't like to change. Anytime we venture into a new habit, we entertain a new thought, we give ourselves a new experience in life, at the surface, it challenges our subconscious, that pull to be back into that familiar, because it's frightening to be in this new space, even if it's going to, advance us to the future that we would like, it's still new. So we have a resistance at our core to staying in those familiar ruts.
And I think, and so, God, you're touching on so many nerves. This is like, I mean, I think that that whole idea and the world we now live in is so complicated, and there are so many things going on. Gravitating towards the norm and what we're used to is the easiest way, right? It's like when you're being bombarded with all of this stuff going on, and you know, Zoom is a beautiful thing, but it enables you and I to communicate and to sort of share experiences here. But when you look at email, cell phone, oh, here's a second cell phone. Here's a text. Oh, I emailed you. Oh, I sent you a message on Teams. I'm sorry, but I'm full in terms of the way that you're going to get a hold of me. But there's so much going on that you kind of just, at least, I'm speaking for myself. I just came from my therapist yesterday, so I think I'm reloaded and ready to deal with life. But my thing is, like, I just get so caught up in so much stuff going on, a lot of which you don't have control over, that you're like, okay, the one thing I do know is how I'm going to go from point A to point B. And I think now, and I'm just, I'm being trivial about that, but when you expand that to a bigger, more, impactful part of our lives, and success or not, that's relationships and profession. I mean, that sucks. It's a safe place. And even to your point, you said, even if it's going to advance you, it's easier to take something you're familiar with, and I don't know. How do you get someone past that? Here we are. This is all about me now. Because I'm so fascinated with this, because change sucks, quite honestly. It sucks. But
Yes.
why?
And there's two ways it's easier, Dr. Mike. The first is calorically. Our brain expends less calories when we're living from that autopilot. Our conscious mind, our prefrontal cortex, actually is more calorically expended. We need to give more of our nutrients to our brain, which already needs the most of our calories. So we calorically desire that autopilot because it's easier, and because when we begin to enter into new territory, when we begin to maybe reconnect with our physical bodies, maybe introducing ourselves to all of the emotions that have been living within those bodies, maybe we're challenging our way of being in the world. For a lot of us, that means being uncomfortable. It means becoming witness to, for some of us, things that we have hidden and tucked away out of protection for a very long time. So the pathway, the journey of transforming, of healing, does come with actual emotional difficulty outside of just the caloric expenditure it's hard to look at some of these habits and patterns in the face.
Oh,
It's
it's
hard to
painful.
begin to embody new experiences, right? And show up differently and watch the world change around us, even if it's in the direction that we're interested in. Because a lot of us have gotten so protective, right, of our onion that when we begin to peel back those layers, it's incredibly emotionally challenging as well.